What is happening with the Springboks? We are seeing some questionable performances, games up against the All Blacks and Australia, which, in my opinion, are seriously worrying. Yes, the referees did not help. I never use that excuse as an excuse for us to lose a game. We should do better. But things have not really been going the Springboks' way. Now, I don't know if it's because of Rassie and his tactical management, how things have changed. He's tried running at the Australians and trying to outplay the Australians, in which case they ended up getting a bit of a hiding. Second test, yes, we came away with a win. We went a little bit back to our old structures, but it was still not convincing. And then the first test up against the All Blacks in Eden Park, we tried to go physical, and we ended up going 14-0 down within the first 17 minutes. We weren't there. A lot of players ended up being replaced, and it was only in the second half where we truly started to find our feet, with the likes of Kobus Reinach, Jan-Hendrik Wessels, Walco Low, Sasha Feinberg coming on and putting in a serious performance. But is that enough for the Springboks? The Springboks seem to be lackluster over these past couple games. Yes, I can imagine up against the All Blacks in Eden Park, we all know that was always going to be a tight one. And it was, thankfully, because of our second half performance. I felt Kobus Reinach really lit a fire up everybody's backsides and started to get the game going. Grant Williams had a horrendous game, same thing with Willie LaRue. And thankfully, we had players like Sasha to come on, make us a little bit more fluent, give a little bit more consistency, and then having that sheer running power of Kobus Reinach coming in and really putting in, a performance, plus getting himself a try. But is that enough? We seem to have lost our way of late. Rassie, he's trying different tactics. He's, I can even see from his mental games that he's been playing, whether he's releasing it on the Monday, whether he's releasing his squads on the Thursday, he's looking at every single advantage to get him an advantage. But things just aren't going, and it seems like he's kind of understood that. He's gone back to how he normally has, ended up releasing his squad to play the All Blacks on Monday, and he's made some seriously big changes. Is this the right time to be blooding in new young talent? We have Ethan Hooker, we have Damian Willemse and Keenan Moody starting as the central partnership. Fassi's at 15, Kobus Reinach and Sasha Feinberg is our halfback pairing. But is this the right time, especially up against the All Blacks? We want to be getting ourselves a win. We've already dropped down to 3rd place in the world rankings. Now, I'm always a big one. Is it really worth it being rated as number 1? We have the Rugby World Cup coming up in 2 years. Russ is definitely going to be thinking about the future. We have a lot of players, what I call our golden generation, where we had the elite players that got us the back-to-back World Cup wins. They are all now coming to the back end of their career. We've had Dwayne Vermeulen retire. We've had Kitsoff retire. We've had Malcolm Marx coming into the last couple of years of his game. Same thing with the Ebenezer, Sia Khaleesi, Bongi Mbanambi. We have a lot of players. Even Chesson Colby's getting in the back end. We have Willie LaRue. He's not going to make it for the next World Cup. There's no two ways about that. And we are now seeing the change of guard. We are seeing players like Jan-Hendrik Wessels at, I think he's 24 years old. We have the likes of Asanatin Hlabakanye, who I think he's probably around the same age. We have Evan Ruiz. We have Cameron Hanekom, Lorenzo Julius, who he's not part of the Springbok squad, but he's definitely a player that I feel will be making his mark relatively soon. At the same time, we have Sasha Feinberg. We have Damian Willemse, Keenan Moody, all of these players that have been playing at the highest level for a very long time. Ethan Hooker, it's lovely to see him breaking into the squad, and I think he truly is one for the future. And I'm not just saying that as a Sharks supporter. I truly do believe he is that person to potentially fill that number 11 or number 14 spot, but honestly he can cover 13 as well. So he's got a lot of versatility, and he is just one of these Boks that are just absolute fire. He is a proper firecracker. So it's going to be interesting to see how he plays up against the All Blacks. But again, is this the right time to be doing it? We've seen from Rassie's choice, he's going for speed, he's going for, agility. He wants to be playing more than likely off the counter. He wants to break hard, break very quickly. We are seeing Siya Kolisi, the leader, as always, at 6, Peter Steff at 7, and they're going to be providing that big back row presence, going to really be fighting for everything. Jasper Wiese's back, and honestly, Jasper Wiese and Kobus Wiese, they 28, 29 years old apiece, so they still got quite a few years playing the highest level rugby, so it's definitely going to be lovely to see him, and it kind of does get me excited to see what kind of generational talents we are going to be developing. But not only that, the squad that's potentially going to be playing in the 2027 World Cup, we're already seeing developing. But Rassie going for the youth, for the legs, in such an important game up against the All Blacks, where we could potentially, jump back up to second if you follow the world rankings. Honestly, I think Rassie, he is trying to get these young players more time. He also doesn't want to overwork a lot of his older, more experienced players. But I always ask this question: when is the right time to test new talent? When is the right time to test new partnerships? Who knows? And I guess unless you try it, you won't know. Rice is definitely going for a different game here, as we can see with the backs that he's going to be playing. We do have Lood de Jager and Ruan Nogia, who are brilliant line-out callers. I'm still a little bit anxious about Malcolm Monks, but he is a truly, truly elite level hooker. But our generational talent is, our golden era talent is coming to the back end of their careers. And that scares me a little bit, because although we do have a lot of players with a big ceiling that can potentially take the place of those legendary players that won both the 2019 and 2023 World Cup, are they ready yet? And that is the big question. Are they ready to take over the reins? And obviously they do still have a lot more time, and they need a lot more time. But honestly, I think Rice is trying to get one over the All Blacks. And honestly, we need to see that fight again in the All Blacks. We need to see that fight in the Springboks. We felt so lackluster up against Australia. We felt so lackluster in the first half up against the All Blacks. And it kills me to see it, because Ebenezer and Siya Kolisi, they always used to talk about one of the requirements that is required for you to play, to put on that shirt, to be a Springbok, is that you're willing to die on that field. I feels like the Springboks have lost that a little bit, and I want to see that fire. I want to see that energy brought back into the game, and I think that is exactly what Rassie is doing here. He's putting in a lot of players that will literally die for the shirt. They will give 100% in every single tackle, every single movement of the ball, every single kick. Sometimes players need to be benched, and sometimes players need to be dropped entirely to see that there is another young gun that is vying for his position and is willing to do what they are not willing to do to maintain it. So hopefully this lights up the backside of a lot of the other Springboks. I'm really hoping for the Springboks to be coming out of the gate very quickly. And this would be a brilliant time to truly see that talent on show. And whether this gamble that Rassie's chosen is actually going to pay off. Is it too much of a risk, or will it be providing him a very, very big reward? Because if he manages to come through with a win, he's labeled as a genius. Obviously, he is a genius. But if he is to lose, the questions come. Why did you play such young backs? Why are you giving players like Ethan Hooker early chances up against the All Blacks, where you kind of want to be bringing in the experience? You brought in Mapimpi for a reason, but yet he still has no show on the pitch. These are all questions that, unfortunately, only Rassie and his staff management will not only have to deal with, but they make these decisions, and sometimes you have to risk in order to gain a reward. So I'm not one to doubt Rassie. I'm just a little bit worried about the kind of style that he's going to be trying to implement up against the All Blacks. And I think that might take the Springboks out of their element and potentially cause quite a big, well, I don't want to say loss, but if they aren't careful, we will see ourselves getting a hiding. Now, I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts are in relation to this, because we're seeing all the old guard getting old, retiring. Siya Kolisi is obviously not the player that he once was. Malcolm Marx is not the player that he once was. Neither is Eben Etzebeth. I say this, but Eben Etzebeth was nominated as one of the best players in the world last year. Same thing with Cheslin Colby. But again, there's only so much damage that a human body can take. Eben Etzebeth is a clear sign of this. He's getting injured far quicker. He's out for far longer. And same thing with Siya Kolisi. We saw him go out with an injury, come back, get another injury. There's only so many miles left on their clock. And you have players like Cameron Hanekom, Evan Ruas, Kobus Visa, Jasper Visa, Marco van Staden, that are all absolute monsters. So we are going to be seeing a lot of young players coming up. I mean, even you look at the scrum halves. We have players like Morné van den Berg, who he's 26, 27 years old, and he's really showing that he is a serious, serious talent. And he's definitely going to be one fighting for that number 9 position. Same thing with Sasha, Andre Pollard. Andre Pollard's getting to the back end. There's a lot of talent, but are they ready to overcome? Because obviously Rassie has one mind. He's half of his brain is on that 2027 World Cup. What our squad is going to look like, don't know. But I have a relatively good idea as to what we could potentially be seeing with the likes of Oxenche, Jan-Hendrik Wessels. We have the likes of Asenatin Hlabakanye, Lued de Jager, Ruan Nochia. I mean, these are all big forwards that, are still within relatively good ages. So for the next World Cup, with a little bit more experience, and then with our backs, with the likes of Damian Willemse, who's already, I think he's the youngest player to get 2 World Cup wins. You have someone like Sasha Feinberg, who's only improving every single day. Afilala Fassi feels like he's been around for God knows how long, but he hasn't even cracked 30 yet. Kenan Moody's really showing the talent that he has, and what he's truly becoming. So there's a lot of promise, but I don't know if we're ready yet. And is it time, up against the All Blacks, to start blooding in the new players instead of playing up against the likes of Argentina, who no doubt is going to be a big, big game because they're very physical, but does it mean as much of getting a win up against the All Blacks? I don't know, and I don't believe so. So I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts are. Please like, subscribe, drop your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.